Good morning. The meeting of the Louisiana Tax Commission is hereby called to order. This meeting is being held at the offices of the Louisiana Tax Commission at 1051 North 3rd Street, Suite 225 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The date is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. The time is 9 o'clock. Ms. Banks, roll call, please.
Chairman Rousseau, Commissioner Leone,
Here.
Acting Chairman Romick,
Here.
Commissioner Guidry,
Here.
Commissioner Frazier.
Here.
4 present and a quorum.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend the agenda to add reimbursement for Commissioner overnight travel to the agenda under items to be considered.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. There's a motion. Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Is there any old business to come before the commission? Thank you. There is an approval of minutes. There was a meeting of April 9th of 2025. Any motion on the approval of those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of last meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Guidry. April 9th, 2025. There is a motion. Any objection to that motion? Motion carries. We'll move into item 5, items to be considered. We'll start with item A, consideration of change orders.
Chandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today, we have a total of 1,545 change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 1,452 and place 85 in pending status and deny 8. Staff requests approval of these change orders.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 1,452 change orders and place 85 in pending status and deny 8 for reasons given by staff.
Thank you, Commissioner Guidry. Any objection to that motion? Hearing none, motion carries. Item B is the consideration of prior pending change orders.
Chandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today, we have a total of 40 prior pending change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve all 40. Staff requests approval of the prior pending change orders.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the prior pending change orders.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. There's a motion. Any objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Item C is the consideration of tax sale cancellations.
Chandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today, we have a total of 12 tax sale cancellations. We have 1 in Jackson Parish due to being erroneously sold, 8 in St. Tammany Parish due to being erroneously sold and duly assessed, 1 in Vermilion Parish due to being erroneously sold, and 2 in East Baton Rouge Parish due to being erroneously sold. Staff requests approval of 12 tax sale cancellations.
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to approve the 12 tax sale cancellations.
Thank you, Commissioner Leone. There is a motion. Any objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Before we move on to item 6, appeals, we'll come back to the motion that Commissioner Frazier had asked.
Mr. Chairman, I move to allow the reimbursement of actual hotel expenses for commissioners should the state rate not be available.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. There's a motion. Any objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. We'll be moving into the item 6, which are appeals. Mr. Hoffman.
Tax Commission. Mr. Note to you this morning. If you'll be offering witness testimony on any of the appeals, I'll have you stand up at your seats. I'll administer an oath. I'll indicate to you individually to affirm the oath. Simply state I do or I affirm and state your name. Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Gregory Miller, I do. Thank you. Steve Barron, I do. Thank you. Jay Stewart, I do. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Y'all may have a seat. Appraisers, same exercise. I'll have you unmute, turn your camera on. Appraisers, please raise your right hand, affirm the oath, and state your name when I indicate to you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Nicole?
I do.
Sandy?
I do.
Luke?
I do.
Joshua
Joshua Laverne, I do.
and Cody.
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Acting Chair, very good.
Thank you. We have item 6, appeals. I guess in general, I'll just make a statement. It's a very lengthy agenda, and for the fairness of all individuals here, just ask all parties that are presenting to be efficient and direct to the value of the property and why you're speaking to that. We'd appreciate that. We'll begin. We have item A, which is a docket 2322172-135 for the record. That appeal is being continued. So we'll move into item B, which is docket 2422171-001, which is the appeal of J. Stewart Revocable Trust versus Assessor Errol G. Williams. So if you would, sir, just speak directly into that microphone and introduce yourself. And
Thank you. My name is Jay Stewart. I'm here on behalf of my wife, who, through revocable trust, we own the property in question, condo PH 4610 John Churchill Chase in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm going to make a presentation, and with me is Dr. Keith Perrin. He's a retired physician, undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering, but he is here as the president of our homeowners association. He's been that capacity for 20 years. He's also vice president of the Warehouse District Neighborhood Association for essentially that long. He knows the neighborhood and the values in the neighborhood. We live in a condo regime that's known as Lingsfield Loft. There are 29 units on 4 different floors. My wife and I bought on the top floor. In 2017, it was initially a second home, but last year we sold our house in Florida and moved there full time. I'm here today to contest the assessor's valuation of $803,000 as their valuation of our condo. Our dispute with the assessor over the valuation of our condo actually began in 2019 when they raised our appraised value 55%, whereas most of the other units in our building were only raised by 16%. That dispute's been ongoing for 6 years, and I'm finally have come before this commission to ask for relief, to ask that the commission equalize the way that our units are appraised compared to the other units in our building and the other units in the surrounding condo units. There's a huge disparity between our assessment and the assessment of the units on the other floors. It's almost $100 a square foot. Based on the exhibits or the exhibit that the parish assessor has presented, they don't have any evidence to support that assessment. They now contend instead that evaluation should be based at $695,000, which is a reduction of almost $110,000. There's no evidence presented on what they initially assessed our valuation. We have presented a number of exhibits, and I presume, based on my reading of that those exhibits are admitted of record. Is that correct? Okay, so exhibits A through J. I have objected to the evaluation of the employee of the assessor's office on the basis that the assessor's, that she's not here to defend it. If you all are going to not regard that as evidence, then my presentation will be very short. But if you are going to consider it, then I'll move forward.
I would just ask you to stick to your presentation, please.
Yes, sir. I'm going to lay some groundwork first because I think it's important to understand where we are in the city and how the floors are approached. There are 4 floors. First floor is basically a garage, and there are 4 mixed unit suites that are really not relevant here. Second and third floors are each have 10 condo units. One is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. One is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and the other 8 on each floor are 2-bedroom, 2-bath units, very similar to ours. Now, on the 4th floor where we are, and I'm going to use this to help you all understand,
Could-
Wow. I've never been accused of having a soft voice, so.
Well, just, yeah,
Oh,
just
okay.
try to pull it a little bit closer
Right.
to you.
Anyway, there are 5 units on the 4th floor. Each are 2-bedroom, 2 baths. Penthouse 1 is right here, penthouse 2, penthouse 3, where Mr. Perrin lives. I'm penthouse 4, and this is penthouse 5. Penthouse 4 is the unit under investigation. Penthouse 5 is one of the comparables that is considered by Ms. Singley and the assessor's evaluator. What's noticeable is that we have a terrace or a deck that surrounds this right here. That terrace is 15 to 20 feet wide, and it goes all the way around this. That terrace is not part of the condo unit. It is part of the common elements of the condo regime. We have exclusive access to the area that is adjacent to our unit, but we can't build anything on it. We can't change what's already built there. We are responsible for furnishing it and maintaining it, but we can't do anything else other than that. So it's not part of the condo unit. We have basically a servitude of use and access to that. Secondly, I want to point out is that my deck is less than half the size of the deck that is on PH5, which is one of the comparables. Yet both the assessors have essentially assigned the same valuation to my deck as they have to this deck. And finally, perhaps the most important is there is a common terrace right here. This common terrace is furnished and maintained by the condo association, and every condo unit on the 2nd and 3rd floor have unlimited access to use that, and they do. This is on the north side of the building. It's got a beautiful view of the city. That's where all of the social gatherings in the condo are held. But I am not aware of anything in either one of the evaluations, either by Ms. Singley or the assessor's employee, that give any credit at all to the fact that the comparables on the 2nd and 3rd floor do have terrace access. And again, I mentioned access. Nobody owns those terraces. And it's always been our opinion that those terraces should not be part of the valuation of this. And I'm going to go into another specific reason about my particular unit. Like I said, this is on the north side. I'm on the west side. The west side is where you get the afternoon sun. And for a good 6 months out of the year, that deck is basically unsufferably hot. So in the afternoon and evening, going out on the deck is just not going to happen. More importantly, this is the view from my deck. What you see is the overpass, the Highway 90 overpass that goes to the Mississippi River Bridge. We're half a block away from that. Where we are, you've got basically 9 lanes of traffic, because there are a couple of exit things, and you have an on-ramp right there. That on-ramp is where all of the cargo trucks, the buses, and other vehicles leave this area from the Port of New Orleans, as well as the convention center. I took decibel readings. That's part of our exhibit. Day or night, the decibel readings on our deck from this traffic is 70 decibels or better. So you're not going to have a normal conversation there. All of that should be considered if you're going to attach any valuation at all to the use of a terrace. I would suggest that I don't think either one of the appraisers have made that consideration. Now I want to talk about the appraisal or the evaluation by Ms. Cassidy, who is, as I understand it, is an employee of the tax assessor's office, the Orland Parish Tax Assessor's Office. Is she here to testify today? Okay, well, that is one of the basis of my objections, is that she's not here to defend or to be cross-examined by her work, but I will proceed to talk about it.
Mr. Stewart, I'd like for you to focus on your evaluation, what you're asking for on
Yes,
your
sir.
property.
Right.
We'll hear from the assessor, and at that point, if there's some objection, we'll give you that time. But I'd like you to stay focused
Right.
on
My-
what you're asking for, and if Mr. Perrin has something to add to that.
Well, his presentation will be based on his evaluation of how assessment of penthouses have been treated in our unit versus the surrounding unit. I'll let
Understood.
him address those. But I will say that Ms. Cassidy has a unit that is not comparable. She has given a value of $60,000 for that terrace. And she has described the condition of our property as excellent, and I have provided exhibits showing the problems we have with the ceiling, the problems we have with our floors, the problems we have with our carpet, and the problems we have with our sunshade. Mrs. Singley's evaluation as good, I think, is appropriate. But we're certainly, our unit is certainly not in excellent condition. We're retirees. We've got limited funds. The exterior of our building is in excellent condition because in 2018, we had an assessment for a refurbishment of the exterior of $1.2 million. Since then, we've had 2 other assessments. That's where our money has gone. It's not gone to the interior. And for anybody to assume that the interior of a condo, a single condo, is going to be the same as the exterior of the building, I think is totally inappropriate. Now I'd like Mr. Perrin to address the study he made in 2019 and updated this month, comparing the appraisals and the sales in our condo with those of 4 other nearby condo regimes. And I think it will reinforce why the assessor's evaluation or attempted assessment of our property at $803,000 is simply unsupportable.
Before we start with Mr. Perrin, if you would, Mr. Stewart, just please, for the record, what are you asking for in evaluation?
I think that $615,000 is appropriate. Ms. Singley came in with a valuation of $630,000, but unless I'm mistaken, she did not appreciate the fact that the terrace is not part of our condo unit. We only have a servitude of use and access, and the location of the terrace, as well as the fact that our terrace is 1/2 the size of the terrace comparable PH5. So I think 615,000 is an appropriate number.
So before we, again, move on to Mr. Perrin, in your appeal, were you asking for $638,900?
That was an offer I made to the Board of Review. It was not accepted by the commission, by the assessor's office. And so as far as I'm concerned, that was a settlement offer. It was rejected and it's no longer available.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Perrin?
Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me the opportunity to be here today, and I respect your time, so we'll try to move forward as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
This started about just before 2019 when 4 different units up in the penthouse area of Langsfield Loft, 610 John Churchill Chase, had that 55% increase irrespective of the rest of the building being 16%. In trying to understand the data, I went to publicly available information from the assessor's office and surveyed 5 different buildings in the area, starting with Langsfield in the area, Cotton Mills Bakery, Fiber Mills, and Mills Roll, all within the area.
This is our unit in green, and these buildings in red are the condo units he's referring to.
So assessing those for assessments, what we found was the assessments data between 2020 and 25 clearly show that other nearby condo regimes do not have statistically different assessments between the penthouses and other condos. The assessment data shows that between 2020 and 2025, assessment values for penthouses in 3 and 4, other 4 regimes have gone down 10%, while the assessment values for the unsold Langsville penthouses have gone up. The sale data shows that between 2021 and 2024, the average sale price for the condominiums in Langsville have gone down 10%. Yet the assessment value for the unsold Langsville penthouses went up. It's, in 2019, we went before the assessor's office for 4 different condominiums and asked for relief of an inequity that we saw, and were refused it on 2 attempts, 1 appeal. Maybe it was naivety about not being able to come to this commission, but we regret that at this point. And I come here in support of Mr. Stewart's request for a lowered assessment for his property at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions for the taxpayer before we move on to the assessor's office? Hearing none. Mr. Mejia?
I'm sorry, the mic was on. You want to start over? Okay, starting over. So I'm going to give you some background information on this property. The property was re-evaluated for the quadrennial at 803,200. The board of review affirmed that number for the 25 tax year. Subsequent to that, we have an appraisal by the tax commission at 630, and we have an appraisal by our office at 695, independently done. The condo development was established in 2004, and sales began in 2005. There's 5 5 penthouse units, and I have some background information on these units. So the units in 2005, we had sold for 656, unit 2, unit 3 sold for 669, and the subject unit sold for also for 659 as well, and the other one sold for 669. So it looks like the 650 was the range back in 2005. Subsequent to that, in 2017, there were 2 sales. Penthouse number 1 sold for 960, and penthouse number 4 sold for 958,000. So the nerd in me came out and started doing some statistical ranges here, and it showed that from 2005 to 2017, there was a 45% increase in value over those 12 years from the inception of the of the condo development, which is equated to about 4% a year. If you just kept that trend, the condominium would be way higher. But even if you trended it at 0, at minimum, it would be at 958,000. The taxpayer's request, it's a decrease of 33% from the purchase price of 17, which equates to a 6% decrease in value per year, when we have a property that historically has been increasing at 4% a year. All of a sudden it starts decreasing by 6% per year. It didn't make any sense, and I went down, and some things just are inexplicable and illogical. But there's a long retention period on these penthouses. The values that are for the penthouses, as we sit here today, we have number 1 at 877,100, number 2 at 807,800, number 3 at 758, the subject number 4 at 803,200, and we have the penthouse number 5, which is the smallest, at 601. essentially what I'm saying is that there's no statistical data that shows that there was a decrease of 33% or 6% per year to get you anywhere near close to the 600 range when these things were being acquired in 2005 for over what he's asking for at this moment. And to speak to Mr., I believe it was Mr. Perrin, the way the assessor's office values condominiums, we value them in a microcosm. So we don't use all the condos, every condominium development. If there's enough sales in a condominium development, we will develop a value for that development. It would be unfair to jump over and over if there was enough sales. We would expand our sales to different competing developments if there was a lack of more recent approximate sales data, but if there's enough, we will use that condominium to develop that value. So that's why using a condo market in the grand scheme of things is not what we do. We don't look at every condominium development and say, well, all penthouses, this is 700 square foot, this is 300 square foot, this is 200 square foot, so we're going to just put all penthouses at 350. We don't do that. So that's why they're valued differently in respects to adjacent condominiums. But essentially, to be honest with you, in my analysis, I think we're being generous at the 803-200, which is a decrease of 16% from the purchase price, or a decrease in value of 2.6% per year. And with Ms. Cassidy's appraisal, that's even a further decrease at 695. So I think that 695 is what we put on paper. That's what we prayed for. We feel that that is more than generous. And in my professional opinion, I believe that to be low. But you know, we're not going to come here and argue over our own numbers. But with that being said, we would be willing to go with our prayed value of 695.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Any questions for the assessors?
Yes, I have one, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Davy, can you give us the breakdown of that 695 for us for land and improvements? So we'll see what it is that you have on that. And my next question, Mr. David, the taxpayer talked a lot about the terrace area. When you guys do an appraisal, is that part of what you all are appraising, is the terrace area? He spoke a lot about it not being used or not part of the penthouse. Is that actually part of it on you guys' appraisal?
It's an intangible, and the independent analysis that Ms. Cassidy made, it is part of that, and it is an intangible that we look at historically, just saying penthouses are typically going to command a different price point than interior units or lower units, just in general. They may be always exceptions to the rule, but in general, a penthouse is going to be your highest per unit value. And a lot of that's attributed to a terrace, a balcony, an intangible. I think the taxpayer stated that it was an exclusive use to him as well. So those are taken into consideration in our valuation for this analysis. It was, yes. The breakdown would have been 55,800 for the land, 639,200 for the building.
Mr. Mejia, could you repeat that? That's different than what your prayer request has. The land consistently was at 53,700.
I apologize. Land at 53,700 would leave the improvements at 641,300.
Thank you. Any further questions for the assessor's office? Hearing none, Ms. Singley, we'll move to you.
Good morning, everyone. Nicole Singley on behalf of Louisiana Tax Commission. I did complete an exterior-only inspection of the property per the appellant's request. At the time, from exterior, it appeared to be in good condition. There was MLS history of the subject, and per those comments and photos, I was comfortable with taking that extraordinary assumption of the subject overall condition being, stated as good. Let's see what I have here. So in the appraisal report that I completed, 2 out of 3 of the comparable sales, I'm sorry, 1 out of 3 of the comparable sales was a penthouse. All units are located in the same building as well. The terrace, I did include as an amenity because it is a direct, extra amenity that can be used. So I felt that it should be included because it is readily available for use. And many other units don't have that availability. With that being said, I completed the sales comparison approach and arriving at an estimated fair market value of $630,000, $53,700 to the land, $576,300 to the improvement, for a total of $630,000.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Singley?
Your Honor, may I ask her a couple of questions?
One second. Let me
Yes, sir.
clear with the commissions first, please. Any questions from the commissioners for Ms. Singley? Hearing none. Yes, sir. Briefly.
Ms. Singley, hi. We talked a couple of times on the phone, and we talked about the internal condition of the condo. Is that correct?
You had said that the photos, that I could use the MLS photos. Let me explain to you a little bit about condition. When it's rated as good, it does take into consideration deferred maintenance and maybe other aesthetics or repairs that are required. I did not have the opportunity to do a full walkthrough and take actual photos that would be date stamped to include in the report. So, in order to have those items, if there are specific items that are of a huge concern that need to be considered, that is the approach that needs to be taken.
Thank you. Did you consider the fact that the other 2 comparables on the lower floors do have terrace access? Were you aware of that at the time you made that evaluation?
The comparables that are used in the report were the comparables that were felt to be most similar based on comparables readily available within the building.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Those comparables, you don't give any credit for terrace access, but they in fact do have terrace access. So my question is, were you aware that the other 2 comparables on the lower floors do have terrace access?
Absolutely. If you look at the report, it states that comparable sales 2 and 3 received an adjustment for that extra amenity that was not there as far as that terrace that you pointed out in the sketch for the penthouse view.
Mr.
Can you-
Stewart, are you objecting to Ms. Singley's appraisal
ma'am.
because we
I
understand
wanna
her
get-
value?
I want to get some clarification because like I said, reading her report, she gave no credit to the 2 comparables on the lower floors as having terrace access, but they in fact do have terrace access.
So they have you're saying they have terrace access, not direct terrace access. Is that what you're trying to state?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you listen to what I said previously, it was given an adjustment for amenities as y'all have direct terrace access. That is an added amenity.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have 3 numbers on the table: a taxpayer's request, the assessor's prayer, and Ms. Singley's independent appraisal.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to his history?
Sir, if it's only going to modify the numbers that have been presented, I think we understand what has been, so you would have to counter. We've got a 15,000 difference between your ask and Ms. Singley's appraisal. So if there's something that's going to dramatically change what you're asking, I think
This only affects his.
I'll
his
give you 1
discussion-
minute.
His discussion on the history of the condo.
1 minute if you would.
Thank you. In 2016, there was a lawsuit between the developer of the proposed property next door, the condominium associated at Linksfield, and 2 owners dealing with the damage that the developer would do to their property. That was settled. And part of the settlement was that PH4 and P4 were sold to the developer at an inflated price. That is the cause of the 29%. It's not fair market value. It was an inflated price due to litigation settlement. That only lasted until 2017, and after that, that bubble just went away. Those numbers in 2016 and 2017 do not reflect fair market value.
Okay, thank you. We've heard a lot of testimony. Are there any further questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, may I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to accept the city's offer of $695,000, which is $53,700 of land, $641,300 improvements, total of $695,000.
So there is a motion. Any discussion, any objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next appeal that we have is letter D, which is the appeal of Fab Idris versus Orleans Parish Review, docket 2422173-011. Is there a taxpayer present? Good morning. If you could have a seat, if you would, and speak, pull that microphone closer to you. That way we can hear. You may begin. Yes.
All right, thank you. I'm here, Your Honor, is that 2004, I actually get an appraiser from the city of New Orleans, and the appraiser was about 95% increase from the previous rates. And now I've been living in my unit for over 40 years. And I know the assessor himself before he become a general assessor. I used to go there and talk to him. And when he brought Mr. David in, and Mr. David went up with my assessor so high, like 95%. So I went to Mr. David, I spoke to him. I said, this is too high. How come all these years did this rate have been, they have gone up, gradually. But this time it just went quadruple. So I spoke to him. He started maneuver his way, trying to tell me, bring some evidence, bring some evidence. I said, okay. And when I gave him my evidence showing that my unit is saturated with termite, it's already, the wiring in the house is very bad. It's not even functioning. Some of them not even functioning because it was an old house, which in the old days they use a copper, they mix the wires off. So they mixed my wire. So a lot of electricians, when they come, they say, oh, brody, you got to change this wire. It's not up to code right now because the wires are mixed up. That's why some of your units, some of the houses don't have, some of the rooms don't have lights, and your central heat keep cutting off. So I spoke to him. I even gave him the evidence. He said, okay, yeah, I got the evidence now. And then I said, okay, what are we doing? I waited about two weeks. I called him back. He said, oh, Mr. Idris, we're still working on it. Another week again, I call him back again. Oh, we have to send our inspector. We have to send our inspector to come inspect it. So because he doesn't believe the photo I sent to him. So I said, oh, I'm going out of town, I'm going out of business, I won't be able to make this inspection, you know? So when I came back, I said, oh, Mr. Idris, we couldn't do it unless the inspection come in to come and verify what you say, because he wasn't going to take the picture that I sent him. He wasn't going to take it. He said unless his own inspector came in and inspect the house. So I said, oh, this is too long. So I called the assessor myself because I know him. And I spoke to him, I spoke to his secretary. And I spoke to our secretary extensively. And the secretary was transmitting all what I said to the assessor himself. And the assessor wrote me a letter. He wrote me a Pacific letter and signed it and gave it to our secretary to give it to me. And when I read it, he told me, this assessment, the 2004 is over, that I should go and wait for 2005 to apply, because the time they gave me is over. While he was playing me game, oh, send me picture, send me that, and he knows the time was over. So the assessor wrote me, I have the letter right here, where he wrote me and signed. He told me, Mr. Idris, the time you submitted your works was over. We can't do anything now. So he said, he gave me the date. He wrote on the letter the date when the 2005 gonna come, so I can pursue it at that time, because he said 2004 you can't pursue it now.
So, Mr. Idris, if I may, so we're going all the way back to 2004, 2005, and we're talking about your 2024 assessment this morning, are we not?
No, we're talking about the 2005 assessment. The 2004 was, that's where we started, but he couldn't do it, so
But the appeal before us this morning is for,
Meaning 2024. I believe he's saying 2004, but it's 2024.
okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, 2024. Then this is, let me see.
You may continue. I just,
Okay.
when I heard 2004, I thought we would be leading up for 20 years.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry, I apologize. There was a 2020, now we're doing 2025.
Thank you.
2024, the assessor wrote me the letter.
Understood.
and
Thank
told
you.
me, yeah, so the assessor told me that I should go and pursue the case in 2025. So when 2025 came in, I brought the case to him, and Mr. David look at it again. They look at it again, and it was sent to another lady to do it. Her name is Miss Jackie Freaky, Miss Freaky. So Miss Freaky looked at my case. He said, Mr. Fab, I know you spoke to the assessor, and the assessor wrote you a letter. I'm going to do your case. I'm going to reduce it. I'm going to reduce the assessor amount from 85,000, which Mr. David put it. He put it at $85,000. So she said she's going to reduce it to 75,000. And but she's not going to she's not making it official until you're going to bring it to Mr. David or somebody. So they didn't make it official, but she told me she's going to make it to 75,000.
So what are you asking for before this commission for what you feel is
Yes,
the
yes.
appropriate amount?
Yes, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, I was asking for 57,700.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so she said she's going to reduce it to 75. So some kind of way we went to they brought me to the board of commission. And when I met with the board of commission official, and he saw the price where, Jackie was going to reduce it to 75,000. And he said, Mr. Fab, what I'm going to do, since, I'm gonna go between you and Miss Jackie. That means I'm asking for 57,700, and Miss Jackie said he's gonna brought it down to 75. So he said, I'm gonna go between you and her. So say, go home, don't worry, that's what I'm gonna do, but that's the Board of Commission. He said, I'm gonna go between you and Miss Jackie. So that went up. So I said, okay, that would be fine with me. You know, that if you go in between me and Miss Jackie, is gonna at least gonna come close to me and little close to her. So I said, oh, that's fair enough. Subsequently, I think they went to Mr. David. Mr. David, I saw it, yeah, and some kind of way, they deleted the information that I sent to them, the information that Miss Jackie saw, that made her want to reduce the rate, because he saw the evidence that I submitted to her that made her want to reduce the rate. So they deleted that information because.
Mr. Idris will allow the assessor to speak to that.
Right.
I'd like to your understanding and your ask for the 57.7.
Yes, sir.
You're making an oral representation to us that there was someone from Board of Review, someone from the assessor's office that was going to recommend somewhere halfway point. That has not happened as of this morning. That's why you're here for the appeal.
Yes, sir, Your Excellency.
Okay, thank
Correct.
you. We're going to move to the assessor and let him potentially speak to what you're asking to.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, once again, David Mejia. Mr. Fobb makes me feel like a wizard. I have this power, but unfortunately, I'm more of a minion in the office than anything. Mr. Fobb came in subsequent to the open rolls in 2024. So as a courtesy to the taxpayers, we don't just send him away. He submitted some photographic evidence that really didn't cut the mustard. We weren't real sure what we were looking at. So we sent a field inspector out several times, several attempts was made, and there was no communication back. So at that point, the Assessor Williams, sent a letter saying, we reviewed your case informally because it was outside of the open roll period, and there will be no change for 24. If you feel it's incorrect, please challenge it for 25, which Mr. Fobb did. Miss Jackie, she did have an offer of 75,000 that we do through the board review. That was considered a settlement offer. The notes I have indicate that Mr. Fobb declined that. He stated no. He felt he wanted to go lower. The board of review, we're not the board of review. The board of review independently affirmed our original number of the 85,000, and that's the number that's been assigned to the property. And here we are. So subsequent to that, we have two appraisals, one at 90,000 from the tax commission, one at 93,000. With that being said, since there was an initial offer from our office, from Ms. Frick, of 75,000, I'll be willing to concede that and make that same offer again. And that would be the improvements at 67,500, the building, the land at 7,500, for a total of 75,000. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Any questions for the assessor's office?
Yes, I have one, Mr. Chairman. David, help me understand. The taxpayer mentioned earlier, Mr. Fobb, he said that the condition of his place, they had open wires, there was termites. My question is, was an inspection done on that premises?
So there was an inspection that was eventually done on the property. In 2024, we made several attempts, and we were never able to gain access after, I believe it was 4 attempts of our field inspector going out. We have made an attempt, and there is some deferred maintenance, and there are some termite damage, and we have reduced condition from average to fair, and I believe our appraisal actually has some fair comps and some comps that have some deferred maintenance, and it still shows it to be around the 90,000 range. So 75,000, it's still lower than that. The prior valuation was 59,700, which had stood since 2016. So the value had really not statically changed at all for that many years. So we feel that, I feel 75 is, Ms. Jackie was being more than generous at that point.
Any further questions?
Yes, sir.
1 second, sir. We're going to, we'll give you a chance at the back end if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So just addressing the commissioners, any further questions before we move on to the LTC? Hearing none, Mr. Laverne, if you would.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joshua Laverne, LTC appraiser. I inspected and appraised the property at 14742 Curran Road using the sales comparison method. That approach produced a value of 90,000 with 7,500 attributed to the land and 82.5 to the improvement.
Thank you, Mr. Laverne. Any questions for Mr. Laverne?
Mr. Laverne.
1 second, sir. I'm still waiting on the commissioners to respond, and then I'll come back to you.
Sorry, sir.
Hearing none. So just before we move back to you, everyone's referring to you as Fab. I'll do the same if you don't mind.
Thank you, sir.
The assessor has made an offer of 75,000. You've heard the LTC's independent appraisal at 90,000. So I'll have a question first to you. Do you accept that settlement offer?
I was going to see if they would do it with the first offer, the offer that the board of review said that he was going to go between that 75 and the 57,000. That's what the board of review was tell me he's going to do.
Okay, we understand your
Some kind of way they deleted my evidence.
Okay, sir, we've heard testimony. That hasn't come up. That hasn't been challenged. As Mr. Mejia said, they are not the Board of Review. The assessor is making an offer of 75,000. Mr. Mejia, if you need to elaborate any further on that.
Yeah, we're not sure, the Board of Review, what was said to them in the
Understood.
hearing or not.
Okay,
We can only go with what they actually ruled on paper, which was the
thank you.
affirmed to 85.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, we've had presentations. Is there a motion to entertain?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to accept the offer of the 75,000, which is 7,500 land, improvements 67,500, total 75,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Leone. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, as I appreciate the agenda, we are moving into letter P, which is the appeal of Patrick Sanders versus Assessor Errol G. Williams, docket number 2422176032. It's my understanding that there's been a consent agreement on this.
Come on.
Please
Russ.
come to the microphone if you would. I'm sorry.
I'm Leon G. Bear. I'm representing the owner on 322 Nashville Avenue. The assessor offered us, we reached an agreement. We've reached an agreement, but we haven't signed it. And my interest was that if I felt that if the tax commission came up with a ruling, then the value would be set till the next reassessment. The assessor's office is telling me if I settle, that they won't reassess it till the next reassessment, unless, the property changes by 25%. So I've agreed to settle with them, but we haven't signed it yet.
So you do agree to settle, but you haven't signed anything
I've
yet.
agreed to settle.
We're going to do a consent agreement if it's okay with Mr. Rush. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So that no motion is needed. Okay, so there would be a motion to entertain the consent.
Okay. That would be perfect.
Okay, so There's discussion on the consent. There needs to be a motion to accept the parties moving forward on this consent agreement. Do I hear a motion?
I-
We're gonna give you the value.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Greg Miller for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We've agreed for a consent settlement of $580,000. That will be land of $307,800, improvement value $272,200.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I guess for the record, Mr. Lowry, there's no need to speak to that. That, as I appreciate it, that is the amount for your appraisal, so that matches if you just confirm that.
Yes, sir. Cody Lowry, Louisiana Tax Commission. That is my value as well.
Okay, thank you. So there is a dollar amount for moving toward an agreement. Do I hear a motion to accept? Thank you, Commissioner Guidry. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Okay, item Q. I believe you have the next two, sir. So item Q is the appeal of Vida Kobehi versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422176033.
Is that gonna be 2324 Broadway?
This is 1511 Broadway.
Okay. Good morning. My name's Leon G. Bear. I'm here as an agent representing the owner at 1511 Broadway Street. I have an appraisal. I'm a certified appraiser, and I've been in the building, probably the only one in the room that's been in the building. I'm sorry. Okay. My name's Leon G. Bear. I'm a real estate appraiser. I'm here representing the owner for 1511 Broadway Street, New Orleans. In order to complete the appraisal, I went, inspected the outside and the inside. The building needs a lot of work, as I've documented in photographs of the property. There's roof decking that's bad. It's going to be expensive to repair. The air conditioning's old. The kitchens are very old. They're original. The plumbing fixtures are original. There's been some modernization to the building, but it still has a lot of deferred maintenance. When I appraised the property, first of all, I used the date January 1st, 2024 for the 25 assessment. Anyway, so I used comparable, instead of, I've tried to find sales of property that had original fixtures in it, because there's a lot of adjustments that have to be made if you take something that's been renovated and it's in very good condition. All the agents say that everything's in very good condition, so it's kind of a meaningless word. But anyway, my sales, I use buildings that had original equipment that were listed in very good condition. And the first one came out with on Broadway Street, up the street from the property, the subject. It sold for $432,000. It was a fourplex. We're a raised single, and the basement floods. When it rains hard, the water gets in there. The owner got talked into putting a concrete dam around the building, and that did not solve the problem. The water percolates up through the cracks in the slab, because it was a brick chain wall foundation, and they poured a slab in there. Well, it's got cracks around the perimeter, and it's got four, piers in the center to hold up the center of the building. Water percolates up, so the dam was meaningless, and they can't rent this area. But it's being assessed. They went up on the assessment. So I used another sale on Claiborne Avenue, which is not far away, and it was a double, raised basement double. And that the ground floor was a basement, and the second floor was an apartment, and the third floor was an apartment. We're a basement with an apartment above, with original things in there. So anyway, and then I used another one on Nashville that was very good condition, original fixtures. It had a new roof though. So anyway, I came out with the value of $400,000 for this. And I looked at the rent on it. The owner occupies it, so I just took some comparables and assigned a rent to it, and then applied a gross rent multiplier to that. It's taken from the market, and that came out with a value of $390. So my two approaches were closer to $400,000. Now, I was looking at the tax commission's appraiser. First of all, they dated it January 1st, 2023. And I mentioned that to him, and we was saying something about the quadrennial assessment. But this is a 25 assessment. I think that my reading of the Constitution says it's what's it worth the year of the assessment, which in Orleans would be January 1st, 2024. So I submit that these appraisals is a year out of sync, for first of all. Second of all, his first comparable on Hillary Street is actually a raised two-story building, as opposed to a basement with a living area above that's been wrongfully tried to make in the living area. I mean, that's why they raised it up, because it floods. And he said it used to not flood as bad, but now, and that's why they improved the basement, but now it floods every time it rains. And I live in the area, and I know that's true. They've done something with the drains. But anyway, he says he's not going to be able to rent it anymore. The Hillary Street's actually a two-story building, and those cost more money to build. We've got like 7-foot ceilings downstairs. This one's 2 9-foot ceiling levels, so that costs more money. And it's a much nicer looking building. It's got a high pitched roof on it. That particular building, it said it was renovated after 2018, and we're not been renovated. And then the sale on Willow Street, he's got the living area is 3,500 square feet. The assessor says it's 3,690. The multi-list said 3,690. So that's got something to be addressed. And then the land, everything in there the land's assessed at $20 a square foot. And when the tax commission appraiser adjusted for land, he used like $7 a square foot. I think that should be 20 a square foot, because that's the whole area is 20 a square foot. And they may do that different from where he's from, but in New Orleans, land's very expensive, and it should have been adjusted at 20 a square foot. And I think the assessor would agree with that remark. And then Pine Street's probably the best comparable, but because it's a craftsman building, but it's a raised basement, not a two-story building. So it's got the same dilemma. But I looked that one up, and it's been totally renovated. It's got a new roof, new wire, new plumbing, new air conditioning, granite countertops. We have plastic laminate countertops. We've got original cabinets in our building. So I just don't think that gives a fair assessment of what the property would be worth, because it was so old inside. And I documented that with pictures and photographs.
Mr. Gieber, I have 2 questions. What year was this home built?
I'm sorry?
What year was this home built?
This house was probably built in the 30s or 40s.
Okay, thank you. And you're asking for 400,000. Is that
Yes,
fair to
sir.
say? Thank you. Questions for the taxpayers representative? We'll move on to the assessor's office.
Good morning, Commissioners. Greg Miller for the Orleans Parish Assessors Office. Property at 1511 Broadway Street, our original assessed value was $506,000. Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal was $500,000. Based on the appraisal, we looked at it. We're in agreement with that appraisal, which we are asking for the Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal value of $500,000. It looks like the comparables that were spoken about did have adjustments for the differences in condition compared to the subject property, which the LTC appraiser considered an average condition, which would include some deferred maintenance.
Thank you. So to reiterate, your prayer is 500,000. That would be land at 154,800, with improvements at 345,200.
That's correct.
Thank you. Any questions for the assessor's office? Hearing none, we'll move to Mr. Lowry.
Good morning, Cody Lowry, Louisiana Tax Commission. I personally appraised the property at 1511 Broadway Street. Using a market analysis as well as an income analysis, we came to a fair market value of 500,000 with an undisputed land value of 154,800 and the improvements valued at 345,200.
Thank you, Mr. Lowry. Any questions for Mr. Lowry? Hearing none, any further discussion? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to accept the city allowance of 500,000 total value, which is 154,800 land, improvements 345,200, total of 500,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Leone. Any objection or discussion on that motion? Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Gieber, I believe one more, which is appeal of 2324 Broadway versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket 2422176-034.
Good morning. I'm Leon Gieber. I'm representing the owner of 2324 Broadway Street, New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm not the owner of the property. I'm an agent hired by the owner to advocate my appraised value. To complete the report, I went inside the building, outside the building. This is another raised single. The upstairs is a living area, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. The downstairs floods when it rains, and nobody lives down there. It's used as a recreation room, and it does have a washer dryer and a half a bath with a shower, very low cost shower. I took a lot of pictures of the property. It's needs work. It's got a lot of deferred maintenance. It's got termite damage. I showed where the water was coming in. The downstairs is being assessed as full living area. It has no ceiling lights except in the bathroom. It has a wall light, and the laundry room has a ceiling light, but the rest of the whole area has no lights. It has 1 or 2 electric plugs. It's painted concrete. It should not be assessed as a living area. I use sales. There's one across the street, $432,000 for a bigger building on a bigger lot, and that adjusted out to $371,000. There was one on Claiborne Avenue, which wasn't much too far away. It had been renovated, and it was 2-story raised duplex, and it had modernized bathrooms, some jacuzzi bathrooms, and bigger building went for $420,000, and it's 2 apartments, 2 kitchens. And then 328 Nashville, I used that comparable because it had all original fixtures and fittings, and that came out with $420,000. So that adjusted out to, in my opinion, $375,000. I also looked at the rent on the building. It's $2,400 a month. It's rented through multi-list, so it's not like an in-house deal or anything. It goes on the market. $2,400 is what they settle on, so it's market rent. And 150 multiplier times market rent's a high number, and 150 times 2,400 is 360,000. So the 2 approaches were 360,000 and 375,000. Another thing, most of those college apartment rentals are 800 a month. I mean, closer to campus, 1,900. You get further from campus, 800. 3-bedroom, 800 a month, 2,400. They're not paying a lot of rent for that basement area. So it's to be assessed at full market value, I think, is overshooting the value. Now, the tax commission's appraiser used the comparable 3707 Nashville. I'm not trying to knock him, but I look at that building, it's got a terracotta roof on it. That's a $50,000 more expensive roof than what we have. We have an old roof, and there's no adjustment for that. It's got a lot of gingerbread on the porch. That costs money. You know, just those items alone, and then adjusting the land at $7 a square foot. I mean, the assessor doesn't do that when he does his value. And I think if you were to take his report, even use it and then adjust for just that roof difference in the proper land value, he would be closer to 400,000 on his property, on his assessment. Comparable to that he uses is a brick building, two-story brick building. And I looked that one up. It had pictures in the multi-list. It had granite countertops. That costs a lot of money to do that. And I think that value should have been brought way down. And then this is, public record. I just Googled this and looked at the pictures of it. And then Pine Street, they put in a multi-list that it was a renovation opportunity, and it was and he's listed as fair condition, but if you looked into it, their basement had been done over, and it said so in the multi-list. It had ceramic tile floor and not painted concrete floor. All that costs money. And so those things should have been deducted from the value, I think, when you're using a comparable sale. It was an older building, needed some work, but 400 square feet of the basement was utility room, had a laundry room, unpainted concrete floors, and that's what they were saying was a renovation opportunity because you could maybe do some more work to the basement here. But the upstairs was in similar condition. So if you were to take that fair condition number out, I think it would have come out closer to what I'm saying.
Okay, so thank you for clarification. Your sales approach was 375, your income was 360, so you're asking for somewhere in that neighborhood on behalf
Yes,
of the
sir.
taxpayer. Any questions for Mr. Gibert? We'll move on to the assessor's office.
Good morning, Greg Miller for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We're looking at the property at 2324 Broadway Street. Our original assessed value was $425,400. Subsequent appraisal, independent appraisal was $474,000. The Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal was $450,000, which both of those appraisals were considerably higher than the original value. And the original value, all the properties, all the appraisals considered the property not to be in good condition, to be in average condition. Adjustments were made for some conditional differences, but we're asking for the original value and the board review value to be upheld at $425,400.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. So that would be $108,000 for the land, $317,400 for improvements.
That's correct.
Any questions for the assessor's office? Hearing none, we'll go back to Mr. Lowry.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Cody Lowry, Louisiana Tax Commission. I personally appraised the property at 2324 Broadway Street using a street appraisal. We came to a value of $450,000 with a undisputed land value of $108,000 with the improvements valued at $342,000.
Thank you, Mr. Lowry. Any questions for Mr. Lowry?
Do I get to ask questions?
We'll give you a minute to readdress, please.
Were you able to get inside that building?
No, sir.
Did you know that the downstairs was painted concrete?
The only information I have about the inside of the building was from speaking to you.
Are you aware that that area floods?
No.
Do you think a terracotta roof is worth more than an asphalt shingle roof?
I'm sure that there could be some distinction for it, but using the market approach that we're using, there isn't a shown difference between the two of them.
Mr. Gibert, I think we appreciate that you're questioning the comps and the adjustments. So we have three amounts on the table. Mr. Gibert's request somewhere in the $375,000 area, the assessor's prayer of $425,400, and Mr. Lowry's appraisal of $450,000. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the assessor's value of $425,400. That's $108,000 for land, $317,400 for the improvement.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. Any questions or comments on that motion? Any objection? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Gibert. Appreciate your time. We're moving to letter L, the appeal of Melissa Ann Griffin versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket 2422176-011. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Griffin Campisi, my married name. I'm here to appeal the assessor's value on my property of $1,036,000. The home is a 100-year-old home on Napoleon Avenue, about 2 blocks from Tipitina's. In 1984, it was a 4 condominium association. I bought 1 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. The other 3 units were purchased. In '89, the FDIC foreclosed on the other 3 buyers, and I bought the 3 other condos at an FDIC auction and dissolved the condo association. In 2001, I combined 2 of the units to make a 2,400 square foot owner's unit for myself and kept 2 rental properties. And in 2020, 2023, properties in the area were selling quickly at over $1 million. So in 23, I decided to make some repairs to the property and put it on the market. I listed it for about 6 months and did not get 1 offer. In talking to a different set of realtors in the uptown area, they told me that I was not getting offers because my owner's suite still had apartment-sized bathrooms and closets, not a master suite with a large bathroom and closet. So my choice was to spend another $100,000 to make it marketable or go back to renting the units. So I continued to rent. I made an appeal and asked for a $750,000 total value of the property. Since I would have to sell it as investment property, the taxes were $13,000, the insurance was $21,000 a year, and interest rates are hitting 6.5% to 7%. It still needed some repairs of the roof and some of the foundations under the porch. So I asked for a $750,000 value. However, at Mardi Gras this year, at the end of Napoleon, all the parades start there, a visitor decided that it was the perfect property for she and her parents. She's going to live in the large unit, and her parents will take over the 1-bedroom unit. And we have signed a purchase agreement for $900,000 and expect to, the house has been inspected, and we expect to close on the sale in June. So I looked at the appraisals of the other 3. I have no knowledge to dispute appraised values, but I thought the sales value that we came to, or an average of the 3, I'm asking for something more in the 900,000 range instead of $1,036,000.
So just to repeat, you're asking for 900,000. Okay, thank you. Any questions, commissioners? We'll move on to the assessor's office.
Good morning, Gregory Miller for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We're looking at the property at 724 Napoleon Avenue. Looks like our original value was at $1,036,900. We did an independent appraisal, came up with a value of $976,000. The appraisal had the condition of the property based as average. It appeared there was a listing that indicated the condition to be very good, and they had photographs that also supported that condition. Based on that, we are asking for our independent appraised value of $976,000.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any questions for the assessor's office?
Can we have to break down on that, sir?
That would be land value 324,000, improvement value 652,000 for a total value 976,000.
Mr. Brewer?
Good morning, Commissioners. Luke Brewer with the Louisiana Tax Commission. I did a fee simple appraisal on 724 Napoleon Avenue. I utilized both the sales comparison approach and the income approach. The sales comparison approach indicated a value of $870,000. The income approach indicated a value of $871,000. I utilized the actual rents, as that ended up being about $1.55 a square foot, which is well within line of the comparable rents per square foot. Because the two values are so close, I adopted a final value of 870,000, which broken down is 324,000 in undisputed land and 546,000 in improvements.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Any questions, commissioners? Any further comments from anyone? Thank you. Is there a motion to be heard?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, just looking at the two comparables, common comparables. I'm looking at a total value of $905,990. That's a land value of $324,000, and an improvement value of $581,900.
So to repeat that motion, a total value of $905,900, land at $324,000, improvements at $581,900.
The total value of 905,990.
So that would make the improvements at 581,990.
That's right.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about
That's
that.
okay. So there's a motion. Any discussion on the motion? Any objection?
Mind rounding that to the nearest hundred for us, it'd be easier.
Sure enough. We'll call it 906,000. Land value of 324,000, improvement value of 582,000.
Okay, so that motion's been modified. Any objection to discussion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, my records show that the next item is letter F. Appeal of LaShonda Gentry versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket 24221733023.
Gotcha. I was like, what I do?
Certainly can. You both raise your right hand, we'll have you state your name and affirm it. Swear or affirm the testimony about
I do. LaShonda Gentry. I do. Thank you.
Good morning. You may begin.
Good morning. I'm such an educator. I thought I was in trouble. All right. So good morning. I am here to appeal the board's initial decision. Part of this is an increase in valuation of a property that I purchased 2 years ago in Lake Bullard. Initially, it was valued at $266,000. It got up to $363,000, which is like a $97,000 increase without a notice or explanation. And then when I went back to look at the comps, most of the comps were not in the actual Lake Bullard neighborhood. They were in areas near Lake Bullard, but not Lake Bullard itself. So then, again, the teacher and me decided to do a little bit of research. And so I looked up the properties that are on my street. They range in value from as low as 267 to the highest being 310. And all of those properties, well, majority of those properties are actually bigger in terms of square footage than my property is. And so I was asking in a sense of like, felt like there's a bit of inequity when I think about how much my neighbors pay for taxes versus how much I pay for taxes. And there's no real explanation as to why we went from 266 to 366 when I haven't made any improvements on the home since I purchased it. And so I'm asking for a lower rate, initially somewhere between 266 and 300.
Thank you. And just to revisit, you've purchased this property 2 years ago.
Yes, 2023.
Okay. Any further questions? We'll move on to the assessor's office.
Good morning, once again, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. I can shed a little bit of light on this property, the reason for the change. So this property was a new construction, and the Assessor's Office in 2024 did not catch it as a new construction, and it was valued as an existing structure, and it rendered a value of 266. So in 2025, we realized that we had erred. This was a new construction property. Subsequent to that, a sale came through at 395. and the property was revalued, but it was revalued because we had inadvertently valued it as not new construction. New construction would typically be valued on either on cost basis of some sort, or would have a premium compared to an existing structure just because of the age of it. And that was the difference of the year over the change. So we assigned a value of 340,000. The subsequent to that, the tax commission appraisal is 360, which is higher, and our independent analysis is it's nearly identical at 342, 300. So 340 was a number that was lowered by the board of review from 363, 400, and that was the number that would be praying for. And that's a breakdown of 34, 500 for the land, 305, 500 for the building, for a total of 340,000, which is the lowest of the three independent values.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Any questions for the assessor's office? Hearing none, we'll go to Mr. Laverne.
Yes, sir. Once again, Joshua Laverne, LTC appraiser, inspected and appraised a property at 11249 Nottaway Lane, using the sales comparison approach. That approach produced a value of 360,000 with 34,500 attributed to the land and 325,500 to the improvement.
Thank you, Mr. Laverne. Any questions from the commissioners? Any further comment from the taxpayer or any other parties?
Yes, I have a question. How were comps chosen? Because the comps that were chosen are not near my neighborhood, and they aren't like, my neighborhood is different than the comps that were chosen, so I'm curious.
Are you?
It's a new construction, so we have to find construction that is new, and I didn't find any within the time range in your subdivision, so I had to go outside it.
Any further comments or questions?
No.
Is there a motion on the table?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to do the Board of Review's valuation, 340,000 total, which is 34,500 land, 305,500 improvements, total of 340,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Leone. There's a motion. Any questions or objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Give everyone a second to catch up. We're moving to letter V, as in victory. This is the appeal of Matthew Reed versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422177-012. Good morning.
I'm the wife of Matthew Reed, so we both co-own the property.
I'm sorry, your first name is?
My first name is Emma.
Emma.
My
Thank
last
you.
name is Popper.
Thank you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
You may be.
So my husband, Matthew Reed, and I purchased the property at 2808 Dante Street in Orleans Parish in 2023. It was July. It was about 2 weeks before, or a week and a half before the assessment for 2024 came out. So the 2024 assessment assessed the property at 142,300. And 2024 was obviously a quadrennial year, so all of the properties were theoretically reassessed that year. However, the following summer in 2025, the property was reassessed at $330,200. This is a 170% increase in the building valuation alone in a single year with no improvements. The only thing that changed was essentially that the assessor's office had access now to the recent sales price that happened right before the prior assessment came out. The property sits in the North Leonidas neighborhood on the assessment maps. So in order to investigate this, because obviously, you know, as a taxpayer, we have limited information on the starting line of this, I went ahead and pulled that map, and I used a mixture of tools to identify every single property that I could find that was comparable, meaning 4-bedroom, because this is a 4-bedroom home, and at least 1.5 baths, because this is a 1.5 bath home. And I submitted that document as Exhibit C with the documents submitted to the commission today. So if you take a look at that, it includes 45 other homes that are actually comparable in the exact same tax block. If you look at the average between those if you look at the average between those 45 additional comparable properties, the average price essentially listed there is $257,000. This commission specifically, I'm sorry, so if you take, also, if you take a look at the assessment data there, not a single comparable residential home in that list of 45 changed in value between 2024 and 2025. The only property in the block that was 4-bedroom, 2-bath, or 1.5 bath that changed was the 2808 Dante Street property. This commission expressly prohibits sales chasing, which is defined as the procedure by which an individual property assessment is reached purely by using sales price. This disproportionately burdens new homeowners because by placing a disproportionate a portion of the tax onto new home buyers. I've attached the Louisiana State audit reports for the Orleans quadrennial assessments for 2020 and 2024 as exhibits A and B. They discuss at length the practices of the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office and possible instances of sales chasing. Specifically in 2024, there were 3,800 homes that they believed were sales chased. And the indicators that the auditors used to identify whether it was sales chased or not was whether or not the sales ratio was 85 to 110% of the sales price. And they specifically mentioned that there was a high percentage of parcels in Orleans that were specifically 92% of the sales price that year, and that was highly indicative of sales chasing. And here we have one that has been reassessed on a non-reassessment year to 93% of its sales price. The Louisiana Tax Commission's attorney, Drew Hoffman, last year after the 2024 assessment stated and was quoted by NOLA.com saying that the rule, when discussing sales chasing in Orleans, that the rule comes into play during appeals to the commission, which gives the benefit of the doubt to homeowners when there's evidence of sales chasing. And I would argue today to the commission that there is clear evidence of sales chasing in this instance. And notably, this exact fact pattern is a little different, I think, than a lot of the ones that might come before this commission, because typically you would see this during these big quadrennial reassessments where you have a massive data dump and you're trying to determine if there's possible sales chasing because every property has been reassessed. What's so notable about this situation is that it was done in a non-quadrennial year, and every other comparable property that I've been able to identify, and I spent hours determining exactly which ones those were, and under oath I would submit that that is accurate to the best of any individual's knowledge, that was the only one that changed, and it changed to 93% of its sales price.
I appreciate that on that snapshot of sales chasing. Can you come back to what you feel your value of your property is and why?
Absolutely. I would just like to say one other thing on the snapshot, just as a final conclusory statement, that I have not received any evidence from the Orleans Assessor's Office to refute the evidence of sales chasing.
Understood.
But moving on. The other issue obviously is the calculation of, okay, well, what would the calculation be if there wasn't any potential sales chasing evaluated here? And I would first ask the commission to look to comparable housing data. And that brings us back to Exhibit C, where we have the comparable housing data and the comparable assessment prices, not just comparable sales prices, which is what we see with appraisals alone, which are going to cherry pick specific recent sales, which are typically going to match somewhat your sales price. I think it's notable if you look at that one, the first number one on that chart under the 2808 is 2812. That is the next door neighbor. The house was built 2 years prior. It's in comparable condition, and it's valued at $186,000, despite the fact that it's also a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house on similar property size. The average, like I said earlier, the average of those comparable properties across the neighborhood is $257,080. We also submitted as Exhibit D a market analysis summary. This was a summary performed by a licensed realtor in Orleans Parish, and it identified the proper value as $220,000 to $276,000. So that's markedly lower than the other appraisals and assessments done here. So even if you take the high end of that, that's approximately $230,000, which is about $100,000 less than what Orleans assessed this as. The tax commissioner's appraisal came back at $331,000. I know that the appraiser is going to discuss that. I would like to discuss those comparables, but I could wait until so I will defer that, but I would like to address that at the time. the market analysis assessment performed by a realtor takes into consideration the distinguishment between not only the fact that these are all houses pulled from a neighborhood, but which areas are more expensive, other things that are more intangible, things that realtors do often understand. And like I said, I'll address that more specifically with the comparables. But the market analysis assessment is, in my opinion, the best indication we can present of the actual value of comparable data instead of just comparable sales data. We're asking for a valuation between 230 and 250, which 230 is the high end of the market assessment. 250 is about the average of the comparable assessments performed by Orleans Parish in this exact neighborhood, North Leonidas. And so that's what we would ask before the commission today.
Thank you. And are you disputing any value on the land as that component?
No, the land value did not change between 2024 and 2025. The increase was 170% increase on the building alone with no improvements.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Before we move on to the assessor, any questions for the taxpayer? Hearing none, we'll move on to the assessor's office.
Good morning. Once again, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. The property was revalued in 24. We had a classified as being in a substandard condition. We had it as fair condition that rendered a value of $230,000. When we get sales, we do have a department who analyzes sales, and if there is a difference of a certain percent or higher, they do get scrutinized because there's typically a reason. We have the wrong square footage, we have the wrong condition rating, we have the wrong land use code. There's typically going to be a reason that we would change a value. In this instance, we looked at our classification and it was fair. It sold as very good. And in the MLS, it actually states renovated cosmetic changes of at least 50% of total living area. So anything that's repaired over 25% has to be revalued. So there's, when we get accused of sales chasing, we only get accused one way. If the value is, if we have you valued at $1 million and you buy it at 800, then you want us to sales chase. But it's never, in our eyes, it's not sales chasing. It's we're trying to do a market correction based off the correct data. So the data shows it to be very good condition. Independently from that, Ms. Kennedy came in, has an appraisal at 331. She has no vested interest in that. We have a veteran appraiser, Mr. Orlando Alcazar. He came in at 361. He has no vested interest in this. So our independent values are all higher than the board review number of 300,000. And that's the number we're requesting, 32,400, 267,600 for a total value of 300,000. I believe the property was acquired for 355.
Thank you, Ms. Mejia. Any questions, commissioners, for Mr. Mejia? Hearing none, Ms. Kennedy, we'll go to you.
Hey, Sandy, you have to unmute.
I'm Sandy Kennedy here with the Louisiana Tax Commission, and I appraised the property for $331,000 with a land value of $32,400, which gave an improvement value of $298,600.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Before we come back to you, any questions from the commissioners for Ms. Kennedy's independent appraisal? Hearing none, we'll give you a minute of time if you need to readdress.
I would like to address a couple of these comparables with you, Sandy. So the first comparable listed is on Pritchard Street. Pritchard Street is a historical street within the Leonidas area. We're in Holly Grove. I know Leonidas is the tax block name, but we're essentially in Holly Grove. It's not a high income area. Pritchard Street is historically a much more expensive street. It's located, the entrance to it is located right across the street from the seminary on Carrollton. The houses there go for a lot more than the houses on average across the neighborhood. And you can really see that if you look at the comparables, in Exhibit C that I have listed, there are a couple on Pritchard Street. They are across the board pretty much higher. And if you look at the last two, they're both over $500,000 for 4-bedroom, 2-bath homes. They're extremely expensive compared to the rest of the neighborhood. Essentially, it's not, in my opinion, a comparable a comparable area. Anywhere else in the neighborhood or even in the surrounding neighborhoods, you really could argue would be. It's just that one specific street is distinguishable. And I wanted to point that out. And that's really noticeable in the property price there as well. Compared to the other two, you can see how much higher. It's 390, whereas the one next to it is 245. And so for properties that are supposed to be comparable, that is the explanation of the difference. And I would like to at least address that to the commissioner. And I would argue that it really shouldn't be included in a market summary comp analysis because it's not actually comparable. As far as the other two, the 2515 Leonidas, I have no issue with. That's comparable. The 2424 Leonidas is a new build. It was built in 2020, so it was only built a few years ago. The home that we're discussing here today, the 2808, it's approximately 70 years old. It obviously has the condition that it has based on that age. It has had some work, but it obviously has issues as well. It's not comparable in many ways to a new build. And I know in one of the prior sessions earlier today, I heard that distinction made by the Orleans Assessor's Office about the assessment of new builds versus older properties. So I just wanted to point out that distinction as well.
So I'll ask you bought your property in July of 23, and you're
Yes.
saying it's a 70-year-old property? Roughly.
I'm sorry?
Roughly 70 years?
It was built, I believe, in 1957.
Ms. Kennedy, do you have anything that you feel is warranting to be added to those questions?
Just that I did take in consideration the difference in condition for comp number 3. When they purchased the property, the MLS showed it to be in very good condition. So there was a condition adjustment made.
Thank you. So again, we have 3 different numbers. The taxpayers' request range from 230 to 250, as I appreciate that.
Yes.
The assessor's prayer at 300,000 and Ms. Kennedy's appraisal at 331,000. Any discussion? If not, I'll hear a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Apologies. May I say one more thing before
ahead,
the
ma'am.
motions are presented? The assessor's office mentioned the condition of the home and that it was originally assessed as fair in 2024 and then changed in 2025. I believe you said there was a 50% increase in the improvements. Is that correct?
Based off of the MLS listing 238-3569. The realtor's details are renovated cosmetic changes of at least 15% of total living area.
So I would like to address that. I obviously don't have data to address that, but under oath, I can tell you this home was purchased previously in 2019. The 2019 owners lived in it, they basically gave it to their son who lived in it until it was sold to us in 2023. I know that they replaced the roof after Hurricane Ida in 2021. They painted the interior so it looks prettier because it's all painted blue now. But the bathrooms are the original bathrooms. They still have the original black and white tile and tiny little corner tub that is really great if you're a kid, not if you're an adult. It has the kitchen is not some fabulously redone kitchen. It has laminate countertops and it's very standard. It was not some big renovation either. So as far as 50% improvement, there are no improvements to the property outside. There are no improvements to the exterior of the property. It's still very old siding. We believe it dates back to Katrina, but I can't confirm that entirely. That was an estimate given by given before we purchased the home. So there's no improvements outside. The roof was replaced, but only due to a storm, which is pretty normal. There's been no major renovations inside, paint, and a couple of replacements in the kitchen without full renovations, none of which are documented in the land records, by the way. It makes me very much question any potential 50% improvement. I personally have not seen any evidence of that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Romick, just in the our exhibit of the appraisal, page 11 is the listing itself, and it describes it in that listing, and that's from the agent. We would assume the agent is.
Was it disclosed what this house was purchased for in 2023?
Yes, correct. It's in the listing from the sale.
And that amount was?
That amount was $355. That was purchase price, and the renovations or the upgrades that we're talking about is listed in that.
Understood.
Page 11 of our appraisal. Yes.
So just a question for you. So if I may, do you dispute your purchase price in 2023?
I don't dispute that that's what we paid. I
Understood.
dispute that it's not I dispute it as an assessment
Understood.
value. Yes.
We understand from how you opened up. Okay, so any further comments?
Interior paint, the installation of air.
Ma'am, we're going to move forward. I think we've heard your position and appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the Board of Review at land at 32,400, improvements as 267,600, for a grand total of 300,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Guidry. There's a motion for 300,000. Any discussion or objection?
I would object based on the arguments I've previously presented, but I have no new data.
So noted. Amongst the commissioners, any objection to that amount? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay, I believe we're back to the order, which is letter C, item C, Alfred Jordan Jr. versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422173010. And I don't believe a taxpayer is present. So we'll move right to the assessor's office.
Good morning. This is letter C. Is that Robin Street?
That's correct,
Okay,
2113 Robin
2113
Street.
Robin Street. Good morning. Once again, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. This property, the value was set at $245,000. It was reaffirmed by the Board of Review at $245,000. Subsequent values were $230,000 by the Tax Commission, $238,000, all a fairly tight range. We had reached out with no response from the taxpayer. We had offered to settle, but the taxpayer did, there was no response. And we went in with our number at 238, which was the middle number between the high and the low. I'll give you a breakdown of that. So our prayer is 238,000, with land being 43,900, improvements at 194,100 for a total of 238,000.
Thank you, Ms. Mejia. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move to Ms. Laverne. Do you have anything to add?
No, sir, just that my overall value was at 230,000.
Thank you, sir. So there's two different amounts. Is there a motion? Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to accept the offer of $238,000 by the city, which is $43,900 land, $194,100 improvements, total of $238,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Leone. Any objection or further discussion? Hearing none, motion carries. Letter E, appeal of Pamela P. Smith versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422173019. And it doesn't appear that a taxpayer is present, so we'll go right to the assessor's office.
Once again, this is David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office, 905 Rains. Our value was 198,700. We have two subsequent appraisals at 149. Our appraisal was 157, but we were willing to offer 149. We reached out to the taxpayer with no response. We were okay with the $149,000 concluded value by the Tax Commission, which was the lower of the three values. And that would be 149 minus the 2,800. That would be land at 2,800 and improvements at 128,200 is what we offered, 149,000.
Thank you, Ms. Mejia. Any questions for the assessor's office? Mr. Laverne, it appears that the LTC staff and your appraisal is identical to that?
Yes, sir, I would confirm 149.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the LTC staff appraisal at land being at 20,800 and improvements at 1,028,200 for a grand total of 1,049,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Guidry. Any discussion, objection? Motion carries. Letter G is the appeal of Owen M. Courageous versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422174003, with a notation that this is being continued. Item H, Do Enterprises of Orleans LLC versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422174006. And taxpayers or representative is not present. Will come to you, the assessor's office.
Good morning, once again, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office, 2600 Josephine. Our value for the quadrennial landed at 395,000. That value was affirmed by the tax commission, by the Board of Review. We have subsequent appraisal of 340,000, 379,000 from the assessor's office, 340,000 by the Louisiana Tax Commission appraiser. In reviewing this, I was in agreement and with the $340,000 offer, $340,000 appraisal. Unfortunately, I did not have a chance to reach out to this taxpayer as I was reviewing this late yesterday, but we would be willing to offer the 340 of the commission staff appraiser's appraisal. That breakdown is 20,300 for land, 319,700 for a total of 340,000.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Any questions for Mr. Mejia? Ms. Singley, anything to offer?
No, sir. Nicole Singley, I did complete the appraisal and I do concur with the total fair market value of 340,000. That's 20,300 to the land, 319,700 to the improvement.
Thank you, Ms. Singley.
You're welcome.
Any questions, comments, motion?
Mr. Chair, call for a motion to accept the offer of the city of the 340,000 total, which is 20,300 for land, improvements $319,700, total of 340,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Leone. Any objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Next item is item I that's on the agenda. I have notation that this has been settled prior to coming today. Item J is the appeal of Eric D. Pullen versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422176007. The address is 5252 Constant Street, and I don't see a taxpayer, so we'll go directly to the assessor's office.
Good morning, once again, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. In preparation for this hearing, I was going to offer a settlement or a reduction of some sort, but the taxpayer is not here. But the value conclusion that I came up with was 950,000, which was 241,900 for the land, 708,100 for the improvements. That's a little bit lower than our independent analysis of 1,163,000. It's a little bit higher than the tax commission's value of 860, and lower than our original value of 1,015,900.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Any questions from the commissioners on that? If not, Mr. Brewer?
Yes, sir. Good morning. I did a fee simple appraisal on 5252 Constant Street. I utilized the sales comparison approach. After adjustments, I had a value range of 788,800 to 971,100, which is within the range of the assessor's valuation. I came to a final value of 860,000, 241,900 of which is undisputed land value, and the improvement value would be 618,100.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Any questions from the commissioners? So just to revisit, Mr. Mejia, your offer of settlement is 950,000 total, 241,900 for land, 708,100 for improvements.
That's correct.
And we have Mr. Brewer's presentation. Any discussion, questions? Your motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Orleans Parish offer, 950,000 total value. That's 241,900 for the land, 708,100 for the improvement.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion or objection? Hearing none, the motion carries. Next item is letter K, the appeal of Guy G. Gonzalez versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422176010. Again, the taxpayer is not present. Mr. Mejia?
Okay.
Mr. Miller?
David Mejia, once again. This property, 1838 Marengo Street, the independent analysis I'm sorry, the original analysis is 848,200. The tax commission appraisal was 812,000, and our independent analysis was 908,000. In preparation for this appeal and this hearing, we came across a detached ADU that was a fully furnished apartment that wasn't captured in our original analysis. So that's why our 908 is a bit higher than our original number. With that being said, and us finding that additional building on site, we felt an 848,200 is more than fair. That would leave the land at 217,500, and improvements at 630,700, and for a total of 848,200. And I believe that we did submit this over to the tax commission. I believe they did revise their report, if I remember correctly.
Yes, you did, which I greatly appreciate, by the way.
Any questions for Mr. Mejia? If not, we'll move to Mr. Brewer.
Good morning again. I did a fee simple appraisal on 1838 Marengo Street. As Mr. Mejia stated, they found an accessory dwelling unit that I missed as well, and I appreciated him giving me a call, and I was able to revise the appraisal. In this appraisal report, the appellant was also contesting the land value, so I did a land sales analysis, which came in line with what the assessor has it assessed at $25 a square foot. After the comparable sales approach, I have a value range between $680,000 to $877,500. My final opinion of market value was $812,000. 217,500 of which is the land value, and 594,500 being the improvement value.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. To be clear, your 812,000 includes, that's a revised number based upon the additional?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for either Mr. Brewer or Mr. Mejia? Before I call for a motion, I guess I had disclosed to my fellow commissioners in advance, I am abstaining from a vote on this, but from procedural element, I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, just looking at the two comparable comps, like comps, and I'm just going to go off that average. So I'm looking at a total value of $815,000. That's $217,500 for the land, and $597,500 for the improvement.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. Total of $815,000, $217,500 for the land, $597,500 for improvements. Any discussion, objection? Hearing none, the motion carried. Item M, the appeal of Judicial C. Tintz versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422176012. No evidence of a taxpayer, so we'll move to the assessor's office.
Hello again, Greg Miller for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We're looking at the property at 1230 Louisiana Avenue. Our original value was $786,400. We had some evidence that was submitted subsequently with some condition issues, which we did an independent appraisal based on that with a value of $677,000. LTC appraisal had a value of $650,000, which we did have a comparable in common, and it looked like the average of that comparable would be right at our independent value of $677,000. That's what we're asking for.
Thank you, and that would be $225,000 for the land and $452,000 for improvements. Thank you. Mr. Brewer?
Yes, sir. Good morning again. I did a fee simple appraisal on 1230 Louisiana Avenue. As it's a multifamily unit, being a duplex, I utilized both the sales comparison approach and the income approach. The sales comparison approach after adjustments indicated a value between $632,100 to $692,100. I adopted a value of $650, and then the income approach was utilized based on market rents, as the actual rents were not provided, and that indicated a value of $640,000. For my final opinion of value, I adopted $650, which broken down is 225,000 in undisputed land value and an improvement value of 425,000.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Brewer?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the Orleans Parish appraisal at land at 225,000, improvements at 452,000, for a total of 677,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Guidry. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Okay, we have a taxpayer that has arrived. This is for item S, the appeal of Marylon B. Remo versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 224-22176-037. Yes, ma'am, you may come forward. Good morning, Ms. Remo. If you could pull that microphone a little bit closer to you and just make sure you project your voice for us. You may begin.
The reason why I'm here for my,
Yes, ma'am. Your property at 2737 Milan?
exactly. I lost my house, my home in New Orleans when Hurricane Katrina hit. I've been paying taxes ever since. I started out paying over $2,000 of taxes. I paid that for some years. Then I got it reduced to about $600. And on last year, they sent me some information and I sent it in, but evidently they said they never got it. So the taxes went up to $1,500 from $600. And now I've been trying to fight it ever since. I done sent pictures in. I have pictures with me of the condition of the house. It just don't make sense to me. How I gonna go from $600? And if anything, the home is worse. You know, it's worse now.
So we have,
Don't make sense.
so we have on record that you're requesting a value of 28,000. Is that appropriate just on land only with no value to improvements? Is that what you're representing for your home?
I've never been involved in this before. My husband took care of everything. I lost him in 23. This is, yeah, I don't know what to, I don't know. I didn't know what to put there. But
So do you have anything to add other than
all I know, the taxes to me should go back to the $600. Why it went up to 15, I don't know.
understood?
And if y'all look at the records, you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay. The commissioners have any questions for Ms. Remo?
I just have one question, Mr. Chairman. Is the property livable?
Pictures here. You want to see the pictures?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We're good. I was just,
I went to New Orleans because I live in Bossier City yesterday. Put newspaper so you can see that I recently took the pictures. Went and got them developed to bring them in to show you all. Termites done ate the place up and everything. But I just feel like one day I'm gonna be able to get my home fixed. I can't pay 2 mortgages. I purchased a home in Bossier City. So I can't get that house fixed and take care of the house in Bossier City.
yes, ma'am. We understand. Thank you.
Any further questions? We'll move on to the assessor's office, please.
Gregory Miller, the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. Looking at the property at 2737 Milan Street, we did recognize that the property is in poor condition in an unlivable state. The original value of $120,800 considered the condition of the property, as well as the independent appraisal of $146,000. They were all done with other properties, comparable sales of properties in similar poor condition. That's how the value was derived. It looks like the LTC appraisal at 130,000 also indicated or considered the property to be in poor condition. And both of those appraised values of 130 and 146 are higher than the original assessed value of 120,800, and that's what we're asking for, the original value of 120,800.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. So that would be land at 72,000 and improvements at 48,800.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for the assessor's office? Hearing none, we'll move on to Ms. Kennedy.
Hey, Miss Sandy, unmute, please. Miss Sandy, you have to unmute.
I thought I had, I'm sorry. But I appraised the property for 130,000 and the land was at 72,000 with an improvement value of 58,000.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Any questions of Ms. Kennedy from the commissioners? Anything further to say on this appeal? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to accept the Board of Review value of $120,800, which is $72,000 land, improvements $48,800, total $120,800.
Thank you, Commissioner Leone. Any discussion or objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Remo. The next item on the agenda is letter N, the appeal of Barcon Properties LLC versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422176013. No evidence of a taxpayer, so we'll move right to the assessor's office.
Hello again, Greg Miller for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We're looking at the property at 5525 Pitt Street. It looks like our original value was $1,136,100, which we subsequently did discover the property was in poor condition and a gutted state. Did a independent appraisal with a value of $821,000. Louisiana Tax Commission did an appraisal, also considering property in poor condition, of $813,000. The property, it looks like, did sell subsequently for $800,000, which and that sale price looks like it also was based on the gutted condition. Based on all the information that we have and we've discovered, we have requested a value of $778,000. Breakdown is $348,300 land, $429,700 improvements.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any questions for Mr. Miller? Mr. Brewer, do you have anything that you want to add?
No, sir. I came in at 813,000. Property was in poor condition. The appellant did provide me with a final settlement date where he purchased it in 2024 for 800,000. With an appraised value of 813,000, that leaves 348,300 in undisputed land value, with the improvement value being 464,700.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Any questions? Therefore, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the Orleans Parish appraisal at land at $348,300, improvements at $429,700, for a grand total of $778,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Guidry. There's a motion. Is there any discussion or objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Letter O, the appeal of Caleb D. Barker versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422176017. No evidence of the taxpayer, so we'll start with the assessor.
Hello, this is Greg Miller again for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We're looking at the property at 5352 Perrier Street. It appears our original assessed value is 465,000. We did an the Board of Review reduced the value to 435,000. We did an independent appraisal with a value of 440,000. The subject property was listed for sale at 525,000 and showed an average condition on 11/1 of 22. Subsequently, it did sell for 508,400. We're asking that the Board of Review value of 435,000 be upheld.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any questions on that? Allocation would be 79,700 for land, 355,300 for improvements. Okay, Mr. Brewer?
Yes, good morning. I did a fee simple appraisal on 5352 Perrier Street. Utilized the sales comparison approach. My final opinion value was 372,000. I had it in average to very good condition based on the exterior inspection as well as MLS photos from MLS number 2360127. It looked like it was in average to very good condition. But broken down, the 372, that'd be 79,700 in undisputed land value and an improvement value of 292,300.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Any questions, commissioners? We'll hear a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Orleans Parish value of 435,000. That's 79,700 on the land, 355,300 on the improvement.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion or objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. The next is item T, the appeal of Matthew J. Lloyd versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422176-039. I have on record that this appeal has been withdrawn. Okay, we'll wrap up our appeals with that of Edward A. Delaney III versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 2422177-004. No taxpayer present. We'll move to the assessor's office.
Greg Miller, again, for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We're looking at the property at 6222 Florida Lee Drive. Our original value was 541,900. We did an independent appraisal with a value of 530,000. The only issue with this property is there is an age freeze in place, and we did recognize that there was some room to negotiate or lower the value on this one. We're requesting settlement or a reduced value of 487,000. I'm sorry. Breakdown is 192,000 land, 295,000 improvements for a total of 487,000.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any questions on that? Ms. Kennedy, we'll come back to you.
Okay, I appraised the property for $454,800 with an undisputed land value of $192,000 and an improvement value of $262,800.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Any questions for Ms. Kennedy? Then we'll move to a motion, if we would.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the city's offer of 487,000, which is total of 192,000 land, improvements 295,000, total of 487,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Leone. Any discussion or objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. That wraps up the appeals. We'll move on to item 8. Is there a consideration of any other matters that need to come before the commission this morning? There are none, so we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. There's no objection, I'm certain. The time is 11:16 a.m.